What's happening, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Park Lane Podcast. Another week, unfortunately, another defeat, but there were some positives to look at, which we will get onto. But it is the start of the January transfer window, and Spurs have already made a signing. Is this a change of things to come? Who knows? We're here to discuss it all. And joining me back again from his long break for Christmas, Wes is back. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Good to be back on as well. I know the last few weeks and months haven't been kind to me in terms of getting on, but that's because of Spurs' fixture schedule. So yeah, I was quite happy when we had a Saturday game, to be honest, because I knew I could do some bits today and jump on the show tonight. But apologies in advance if my voice is a bit all over the place. I've been suffering, I think, with the same bug that half the Spurs team have got. So, but we'll power on through. We'll power on through.
I think half of the nation, mate, have had some sort of illness. Like ever since my holiday when I went to Dubai for a week, I've been ill ever since coming back. So not ideal. Let's jump straight into it, mate. Actually, before we do that, thing that I never really do too much, but please, if you are new to the channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. 87% of people that viewed the last video were not subscribed to the channel. So please do subscribe. It really, really does help us out. It's free to do so. It takes 2 seconds to click the subscribe button. So please do that. And also like the video. So let's get on to Spurs' new signing. So we thought we needed a goalkeeper. And here we are with a new goalkeeper. Someone, Lange likes to work in the shadows, I like to say. And, goalkeeper that I'd not heard much of. There were rumours about certain players that people were getting unhappy about. But we ended up getting in Antonin Kinsky, who I knew nothing about. 15 million euros plus add-ons. Very highly rated, apparently, according to people like David Ornstein. And Spurs see him as somebody who is able to challenge Vicario, not just become a second-choice goalkeeper. Now, I'll give you some stats, Wes, so you're not going in blind on this one. In all competitions this season, he's made 29 appearances and made 14 clean sheets. And that includes the Czech League, includes Europa League, and I believe Cup games as well. So 29 games, 14 clean sheets. So 1 in 2. That's not bad, is it?
Yeah, no, that's all right. I have to profess as well, I'm in the don't know anything about him camp. But yeah, it seems to be getting a lot of positive press, which is always a plus. And I like the fact that we've actually bought a goalkeeper in, or a player in, that is ready to be able to compete with our, if you like, first choice player for that position. So yeah, I think that in itself speaks volumes, and I like that fact from not only the club and sources coming out of the club, but obviously the journalists who are reporting on that, because then it means that the club are actively trying to help Ange Postecoglou, because we know the squad is unbelievably stretched like you wouldn't believe. So yeah, it feels like, he's getting a bit of help in a department that we potentially, need a bit of help. I know that takes us up to 5 goalkeepers in total at the moment, but I think obviously 2 of those are goalkeepers are contracts up in the summer in Fraser Forster and Alfie Whiteman. So the fact that we will now have hopefully 3 good goalkeepers and decent goalkeepers is a good thing, I think.
Yeah, 100%. I think when it comes to signing a goalkeeper, I think we were all pretty much certain that we needed one, but we needed one that wasn't just going to be somebody that come in and there were talks of Sam Johnson from Wolves, excuse me, other people like that. I'm absolutely choking on my dinner, but it's good to see us signing a young goalkeeper, and this kind of fits into what Ange likes as well. There's reports tonight that Spurs board are 100% behind Ange Postecoglou, and that they're preparing, a transfer window to back him in terms of whatever you make of that. But I make of that, sign players that he wants as opposed to doesn't want. And look, only time will tell. I don't know how quickly he can start. I don't know if Wednesday night against Liverpool in the semi-final of the Cup too soon, but let's talk about that a little bit, because obviously Brandon Austin, after 17 years at the club, 78 times he's been on the bench, never played. Finally played against Newcastle. TNT Sports gave him sympathetically, in my opinion, man of the match, or as they call it, player of the match. What did you make of him? Because now there are obviously people out there saying, "Well, this isn't very fair on him, is it?"
Yeah, I thought Austin played well considering what he had to do. And I think he wasn't flustered at any real point as well. And I know he's not necessarily a kid or somebody under the age of, say, 23 that we're chucking in here. Like, he is in his mid-20s, so it's a bit baffling that he's in his mid-20s and that was his debut. But I did quite like him. I think he pulled off one fantastic save in the first half. I think he was good with the ball at his feet. Some of the passes he was looking to play at times when we're in our build-up phase were really good. And I put it this way: if it was Vicario or Forster in goal, I don't think we'd have seen those types of passes being played. So that's a positive in itself. I like the fact that at corners, again, didn't get too caught up in all the pushing and shoving. And I think he commanded his box fairly well as well. So, yeah, I think positives from the game was definitely him and his performance, like 100% on yesterday.
Yeah, 100%. And, somebody that has waited that long to play and then is being kind of like thrust into it as such. I think he did, pretty well. I don't know if he maybe could have done better for the Anthony Gordon goal. It's across his body. Can he get down to it? But then it is, right in the far post, so maybe not. But I think you're right. I think, commanding his area, he did pretty well. Shot stopping, especially late on, he did well. Distribution, he wasn't afraid to go long at times or into Solanke. But also, he was 10 times better with his feet than Fraser Forster. I wasn't worried when there was a few times he sprayed the ball into midfield, which Vicario does quite a bit, and he didn't seem out of place. So do you think it's harsh on him, in terms of like Spurs signing another goalkeeper? So that's kind of him now not going to get another shot for another 17 years. Or do you think it's like, just how the game is?
How the game is, I think it, but outside looking in, it feels like Spurs are succession planning for life without Fraser Forster by signing this Czech lad. I'm not going to try and pronounce his name because I'm going to absolutely butcher it. So yeah, it just feels like we're succession planning and trying to effectively get ahead of the game, which is quite nice because we are and can be a really reactive football club when it comes to transfers. And it's like, well, no, we know we need a new goalkeeper and one that is able to be a more than able competitor for Vicario. And, obviously with the data model that we have in place now, it feels like this was the person to, be that competitive additional goalkeeper, if you like. But I don't think Brandon Austin's done himself any harm yesterday, put it that way. So who knows? There could be other clubs looking for a goalkeeper, so he might get a move in the summer, or he might stay at the club and have to just be patient and almost be our third choice goalkeeper, really.
Yeah, it depends on what he really wants for his career, doesn't it? It depends if, having that start and that time in the Premier League, he says, do you know what, I actually want to play football. Because that's what always amazes me about these types of goalkeepers that are just willing to stay at a club like Spurs for most of their career and just not play. Obviously he's been under contract at Spurs, so he's not actively going to go out there and start looking for clubs. But at the same time, he could probably quite easily be a championship goalkeeper and play week in, week out. He's not getting any younger, and it's just whether he wants to then be, again, third choice,
Yeah, no, I think, between him and Alfie Whiteman, I think obviously they're both in their mid-20s, not really had a lot of football. And like you say, it then begs the question, like, what is their, mentality like? because are they just happy being at Spurs where it's nice, it's comfortable, they know the area, all of that kind of stuff, or actually are they going, do you know what, I'm at an age now where I should be playing week in, week out, but I'm not, and I need to do something about that because before I know it, I'll be 30 and I would have barely played even 50 games.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden their career will just sort of peter out, and when they retire, people will go, well, who was that? Who was that? I'd never really heard of that particular person playing. So, yeah, like you say, it does beg the question about their mentality, especially when they
not
have.
Bad for, 10 grand a week or whatever he's on. I'm sure it's not.
I mean, he might have a good, he's got it good in that sense. Obviously, everybody looks at someone like Scott Carson, but he's obviously towards the back end of his career. So it's like, look, I've played my games, I've sort of made my money. I'm just gonna kind of sit here and have it nice and easy for the last couple of years of my career. But these two goalkeepers in particular are still, at a good age where they could go and be a number one somewhere, but also be a number one for a little while as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 15 grand a week I just checked he's on. So it's not bad to, sit on the bench 78 times, is it?
Yeah, no, 15 grand a week. I'd swap with him, that's for sure.
Right, let's talk a little bit, about kind of that back four of Spurs, because it goes from bad to worse really from Spurs. Obviously, like in the week there was talks about this illness that was going around. The likes of Son, Maddison, and so on. Not being in the match day starting lineup. Sorry, Dave's just joined. Better late than never. Nice to see you, Dave.
How we doing, boys?
Yeah, good. And then to top it all off, Dragusin goes off at half time, which actually I think was probably the best thing that could have happened to us in yesterday's game, because I thought Spence came and played centre back incredibly well. Felt like Sergio Reguilon was really good at left back. Personally, I think he looked like he really had the kind of bit between his teeth and looked like he was really fired up. Doesn't it not look like he's aged about 15 years since the last time you saw him?
Yeah, I think with Reguilon, it's almost, I think there was times yesterday where it felt like, because he hasn't played for so long, it's almost like he's forgotten how to play football at times. But yeah, it was just like, so obviously in the ground yesterday, and you come out for the second half and Dragusin's had to go off, and it's like, why is he going off? Like, what's going on here? And then Ange coming out afterwards and saying that he was literally like near enough on the way to sort of puking up. It was a bit like, bloody hell, like you can't catch a break in terms of the back four side of things. So yeah, it was a bit of painful to see that we've got a right back in who we've tried to get rid of for the last couple of years, can't get rid of him, and now we're relying on him to do a job, and now he's having to play centre back. And we got another fullback who we've tried to get rid of for the last 3 years, had 2 loans last year, and neither of them clubs wanted him. And it's like, well, we need you now. It feels like the guy that's just the new guy at work that's just all of a sudden become really important. Do you know what I mean? So, but yeah, I think to be fair, that back four kept a clean sheet. So I think that kind of says more about the individual mentality there than anything else, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Dave, what did you think about Jed Spence playing centre-back? Like, one of my thoughts about this, of why kind of like it actually plays into Ange Postecoglou's hands a little bit, is because, he likes his defenders to obviously come out and play with the ball. He likes them to be good at passing. All of these attributes that actually you probably associate more with a wider player than you would with a centre-back or, traditional kind of centre-back. So
Can I be completely honest?
Yeah.
We looked so much better defensively when Dragusin went off. We looked so much more solid, so much more compact. The back four actually stayed as a back four, which really surprised me. The fullbacks weren't bombing on as much, and leaving them holes because they didn't want to leave Spence and Gray exposed. Maybe they didn't trust him as much, which kind of makes sense because he's a fullback, not a centre back. But defensively, we looked so much better. I'm not going to talk about that joke of a goal they scored, but anyway.
Yeah, we'll get into that, mate. Don't worry. Just tease the fans whilst we're there. But yeah, Wes, you're the tactician here. Like, you're the football genius. Watching the game from the ground, like they look solid, didn't they, as a four?
Yeah, it didn't look too bad, to be fair. Having said that, though, first half, out of possession, we looked absolutely clueless. Yeah. Like, we looked like a bunch of strangers in the first half when we didn't have the ball, and that was the biggest worry and concern for me. It was like, I know we had the illness and you could almost tell on the pitch those that were ill compared to those that weren't. But yeah, I just think Newcastle, the way they set up, the way how organised they were both on and off the ball, naturally sort of did a job. And I think, most teams would, given our current circumstances. But at the same time, you still need to have a plan and an idea of what you do both on and off the ball. And it felt like yesterday we just had, especially in that first half, we had no clue. We didn't know whether to go and press. We didn't know whether to go and sit in. And it was just like, if we were going to go and press, it was like in ones. So then they were just so easy to play around Tottenham, especially in midfield. And I actually think that is a byproduct of both of Newcastle's goals, really. Gaping holes in midfield, and then they exposed spaces and punished us for it. So, but having said that, like you say, second half defended really well, and yeah, I think that the subs, I would say, made a difference. Second half, we were just hoping for that final push, and it just weren't coming, unfortunately. Like, I think we could be playing until the Liverpool game on Wednesday and still not score.
Yeah, it was tricky, to be honest, because as you say, there's that moment where both Brennan Johnson and Sergio Reguilon smash the ball across the face of goal, and neither of them go for goal, or at least didn't seem like they went for goal, and it's just really frustrating in those moments. Brennan Johnson hit the post as well from a really acute angle. Like, there were moments in that game, but Callum, do you agree with Ange Postecoglou? When he talks about how if all things were well and fair, whatever the exact phrase he used, we would have won the game yesterday.
Well, if I'm going to comment, then I'll probably get a shitty letter from the PMGOL or something like that. So I'd rather you know what happened in the game. You know what happened in the game, and we'll go with that. No, it's one of them, because so many teams will feel let down by refereeing decisions and everything like that. It's what managers are used to now. We all say it: VAR's shit, refereeing standards are shit, no one knows the rules, no one knows what weighs up, sort of thing with it. So I mean, he's right, but we've had decisions go our way in the past where other teams have felt aggrieved, and we're not going to get a replay out of it, are we? So, I mean, all them journalists that are literally going to him, oh, tell us what you think. What do you actually mean? Well, all he's going to get, sanctioned if he says anything. It's just he was very pissed off. And yes, I think that realistically that was more of a handball than the Musa Sissoko one in the Champions League final. And but realistically, yeah, if we had have
Cal, you trying to make us more depressed by mentioning that goal, mate? Come on, we're already struggling here.
No, only you, Dave. Only you look like you belong in a casket somewhere, mate. But I mean, there's that one for your side of it. But no, I mean, it's realistically, if we hadn't have conceded that first goal, Newcastle had 20 other chances in the first half. Like Wes said, no pressing. We didn't know where we were and what ideas we had. So what can we actually say? That realistically, yes, we've been outdone on that one, but so many decisions go against either team. I mean, I think there's been a couple in the games yesterday, the penalties that have been given today in the Fulham Ipswich game as well. So, I mean, how many other in the Arsenal game yesterday where João Pedro got a penalty as well? What can Ange actually say? And when journos deliberately rub him up the wrong way, and then they try and get him to say something, and then he comes across as an arsehole because he's been pushed into that position. And like we've all said, we want Ange to be backed and do this. Well, the press had to freaking back him as well, to be honest, within reason, because literally they're trying to force him into a corner where realistically he cannot go. And anyone who speaks out against PMGOL will get sanctioned. And it'll mean that he'll get touchline bans and stuff like that. We can barely field a squad. We don't want to start losing technical staff as well when it comes to it, do we, mate?
Yeah, interestingly though, Wes, I'll come to you, Dave, in a second on that handball incident, but because I assume you'll be at the game on Wednesday night.
I'm not on Wednesday, actually. No, I have another session.
Because they are trialling, stadium whatever they call it, where you can hear the decision of VAR. I don't know how much we'll get to hear.
It's coming out of the Squid Games, guys, ain't it? They're going to put them all around next to your seats, and you'll have Squid Games telling you what's going to happen. And if you get it wrong, or if you decide wrong, they'll shoot you in the head.
No, I've got a feeling it's going to be, how it was in the Women's World Cup, where the referee will go, right, this was the incident, and then this is what they're going to award.
I'll only be up for Callum's idea of Sol Campbell's coming to the game.
What about if one stands right next to Levy's head and Donna Cullen as well? Just you will put money in, or we will get you out of here. Goodbye.
The problem with what they're deciding they're going to trial is that it doesn't really help the situation. Like, we want to hear the full conversation, not just the decision at the end. We know what the decision is because they've given the whatever it is, whether it's a free kick, penalty, whatever that might be. And so. Look, it's a step in the right direction, but it's not far enough.
I don't get it. Like, we have to hear it 3 days later either. Like, nobody gives a shit 3 days later. Like, it's done. Like, what are you going to do about it 3 days later? Howard Webb's on TV like, if we listen to the conversation, we don't care about it, mate. We care at the moment. Like, why are they giving that decision? Not 4 days later just to...
well, they've got to have 4 days to concoct their story, haven't they, to make sure they comply with all the rules.
So, Dave... let's talk about this handball because, for those that live under a rock, we are talking about the 2-1 loss yesterday against Newcastle. But there was an incident in the game whereby Sarr plays a slightly sloppy or overhit pass towards Bergvall, who flicks it past Joel Linton, hits his arm. The turnover possession happens. Joel Linton plays it into Gordon, who scores. Now, look. There are very simple terms. What they're saying is his arm wasn't outstretched, and therefore there's no intent to handball the ball, and therefore it didn't actually result in a goal from Joel Linton, which is even more mental because it was one pass through to Gordon. But from my angle, and actually probably one of the first times ever, I think it's Karen Carney maybe, or who was on TNT Sports, and. Actually probably one of the first times that I'll ever agree with her in this sense is she said, look, what has happened is that, okay, it wasn't intentional and the arm wasn't out to the side, but the resulting action of that handball results in a positive impact for Newcastle United. So therefore it cannot possibly stand in, the rules of any game because they did get an advantage from something that should be illegal in a game.
So, I was raging at this, obviously. The way I look at it, right? If it doesn't hit Joel Linton's hand, he doesn't gain possession of the ball. He doesn't play Gordon in. Gordon doesn't score.
Yeah,
simple. Yeah, Spurs met with their enemy, their own worst downfall, their own worst enemies at times because Bergvall giving the ball away. But the reality of it is, and this handball law is the biggest load of bullshit I've ever known in my life because. If it has an impact, they say, oh, yeah, but Joel Linton didn't score. No, but what that did is the Tottenham players are starting to push up the pitch. The ball hits Joel Linton's hands. We're out of position. He plays one pass in. Gordon finish. Goal. If the ball doesn't hit his hand, he doesn't have possession. Tottenham carry on with possession. And that phase of play never happens. So in my opinion, the way I kind of look at it is, like Karen Kenny, and I agree with her as well yesterday, which is weird, but if the ball doesn't strike his hand, if the ball does not touch his hand, they do not score that goal.
Yeah.
They might score another goal a different way, but that the ball literally hit Joel Linton's hand and landed to his feet. It dropped to his feet and he just tapped it to Gordon who scored. How is that not? Because they class it by phases of play, don't they? That's what they say. This phase of play, that phase of play. That's one phase of play. Yeah. Ball hit his hand. He knocked it through. So you're telling me, right? Let's say, for example, they're in the penalty box, right? And someone plays a ball against somebody. It hits their hand, but the hand's in a natural position, and the geezer next to him just taps it in. Is that a goal?
Yeah.
You see what I mean? And that's kind of the way I look at it because it dropped to his feet 16 yards outside our 18 yards where it was outside our box, outside of our goal. He plays one pass, Gordon scores. In my opinion, immediately VAR should have said they've gained an advantage from that handball. They've gained an advantage. Yes, fair enough. It was accidental, so there's no yellow card or anything like that. But it's handball. Simple as that. It shouldn't have counted.
Yeah. Now, Johnny, is as said, just so I can be an unbiased person in this at the moment. He said it's not a handball because it was scored indirectly from that phase. The goal only when it's scored directly, it's not a goal. Now, I think we all know or at least can read the rules. As they were shown enough on TV if you watched it on TV. But I still don't agree with that because there has to be an element, Wes, of interpretation of read into exactly what has happened. As Dave has said, if the ball doesn't hit his hand, Newcastle don't get the ball because there's a Spurs player behind Joel Linton or coming towards the ball to collect it. So therefore, they definitely don't score at that moment. So they have had an advantage from it hitting the hand. Like, where do you stand as a coach on this?
Yeah, I think Dave's spot on with that one. For me, it's like they have gained an advantage because, as Dave said, if it doesn't hit Joel Linton's arm, Newcastle don't gain possession of the ball, and then therefore they don't then go and score in that direct kind of moment and action. So yeah, if obviously Dave sort of hit the nail on the head. There's the way that Spurs was set up at that point. We had good possession of the ball, so that's probably why it looks like Porro was out of position. Well, he's probably going a lot higher because we're in a comfortable moment in a comfortable state within the game. As soon as that happens, all of a sudden the turnover and we're buggered. And actually, that's where the goal comes from because Joel Linton slides in Gordon, who's in that space that's been occupied by Porro. But yeah, I think for me there was a definite advantage gained by Newcastle. Look, it's not a deliberate handball from Joel Linton. Like, there's not a lot he can do in that situation, but it has hit his hand. And look, do I think Joel Linton really knows a lot about it? Probably not. It's like I say, it's one of those sort of innocent things, but it has hit his arm. There has been an advantage gained, and Newcastle do gain an advantage from it, and because they go and score from the turnover in possession. So
I just think you have to look at the how long it was after the handball they scored as well. Seconds.
Yeah.
If it hits Joel Linton's hand and he plays it out wide and he plays it back to Joel Linton and he plays it into Gordon and he scores, fair enough. You can't say nothing. Like, it's accidental. But the fact that it's hit his hand, he's had one touch, played it to Gordon, he's had one touch and scored. It was less than 5 seconds. That's one phase of play. I get what Johnny's saying in terms of the law, and if it's not in a penalty box and it's not a penalty, etc., or it's whatever. But in that moment, Tottenham players are pushing on. It's because we're gaining possession. We know our fullbacks like to push on. So that's what's happening. Porro's gone already, which means he's out of position. That is clearly gaining an advantage on our fullback because he's not there. In my opinion, it works the same sort of way as if, when players get injured and they go off the pitch, his hands on the side of the pitch, waving like, let me on, let me on, let me on. It's the same sort of thing as if, you were basically the other team are attacking and you allow the player to come on to defend just straight away. They gained that advantage straight away. You've then given a defence an advantage to be able to tackle and win the ball straight away. It's the same sort of way. You're giving that opposite team an advantage, over a team. If it had gone the other way and Tottenham would have scored it, I'd have been like, yeah, sweet, we got the goal. But I'd imagine Newcastle were really pissed off about it because it's not right. It's not fair. I don't get it. I think the handball rule is such a, as far as I'm concerned, scrap the whole handball rule. If it hits your hand, it's handball. That's it. Keep it simple. All this, or it was in his natural body position or whatever else. If you're a defender, defend the ball, and somebody strikes at you from 3 yards and it hits you, fair enough. But if it hits your hand, it's handball. None of this, but it's in a natural position. So,
What I'd be interested to know, right, is if the same thing happened, let's say it's Son. He takes a shot, same distance away, it's going into the far corner, but it hits Joel Linton's hand and it doesn't go in. Is that a penalty to Spurs or is it not? Do you get what I mean? Like,
it's not.
It's so tricky in those situations.
That's what I mean. That's not. But it's stupid.
But then look at the Eric Dyer incident against Newcastle, right? And Eric Dyer's jumped up for the ball, so his arms are up, and Carroll's hit it, and it's come off Eric Dyer's arm. But Dyer's not even looking at the ball, and that got given as a penalty. That was probably one of the most unbelievably
We've had a lot of bad shouts
atrocious
at penalties as
VAR.
balls, haven't we, with Spurs?
Yeah,
Dyer never looked at the ball anyway, so I mean, it didn't really fucking help us, to be honest.
And then you got the Lucas Moura one away at Sheffield United as well.
Yeah.
Like that,
Yeah.
he's like on the floor and someone's just decided to smash the ball at him. And then it's like, well, he can't exactly get his arm out of the way of that. But again, that got ruled out by VAR. So it's like, you know, they're trying too hard, I think, to make it perfect. But perfection doesn't exist. So that's why there's still all these sort of grey areas, I think, especially when it comes to the handball.
One of my friends said, no one will believe this. He said, Newcastle fan, by the way, in a group chat. So if you're watching, Stephen, good evening. He said, cracking game of football. Newcastle did well to hang on, especially against 12 men.
Oh, fuck off.
That's a true statement from a Newcastle fan who thinks that we were given an advantage by the referee. Anyway, I'll leave that to you.
I must have missed that.
Yeah, can anyone just quickly? I mean, I watched the match twice. Can anyone remember any specific time where?
I mean, I can go through like. There's a really long passage which explains it, but I just put a laughing emoji to it. It starts off by saying, which is when I stopped reading. Right, so the 10 minutes of added time was already contentious, and then he added another.
What about all the fucking time wasting them bellends done, including the Gabravka? God, your mate is a typical delusional fucking Geordie and all that.
No offense to all Geordies out there, but yeah, look, I only read that for a bit of
What's a mel?
It goes on like I was like,
jeez, yeah, forward that to me. I want to read that, Luke. Put that in our group chat.
Send your mate's number to the group chat, and we'll all have a chat with him personally.
It goes on for so long that it actually says on WhatsApp, "Read more."
That proves that it should have been a voice note. That's what that means. That's what that proves.
Yeah.
Well, how long's that fucking voice note then? That's like a lecture.
That's Wes. Sorry, that's Winnie. Winnie loves a long voice note, doesn't he?
Yeah, so, you know, another moment to just chat about Wes. We'll come back down the line on this one. Is obviously Dan Burn already on a yellow card. The ball goes past him. His arms are out, spread wide, hits him in the arm. Yet there is a free kick, but no yellow card. You know, for the action in which results in that turnover of play. What do you think about that?
Well, apparently the ref was on our side, so you know. But no, I genuinely think the referee was abysmal, and I think I've played with better referee, or I've had better referees when I played, and I played at a fairly decent standard, but obviously nowhere near Premier League or anything like that. That incident was another one that was again frustrating because again momentum. You're talking about again. We were on the attack. And we literally, if Kulusevski does successfully knock it past Dan Burn, I think we were in pretty much. So, yeah, again, that was another frustrating one because, again, if that goes our way, probably changes the course of the game and the game state and everything else. So you would have liked to have thought at that point, sort of after then, that maybe we could have gone and nicked something from the game. I say nicked something, but got something from the game at that point. But yeah, again, that was another frustrating one. But the referee had an absolute howler from the moment he blew his whistle for kickoff until the moment he blew for full time, really.
Can I come in just with another instance on that as well? There was another time when one of the Newcastle players went into Austin in the box, and Austin got fouled, but he got the ball and he launched a counter attack. He was going long because his kicking weren't great, but we was another time playing the advantage, and the ref fucking blew the whistle and all that. It dropped to our player, and he just called it back for a free kick. And I mean, yeah, fine. He was protecting the goalkeeper. I mean, they was definitely giving Austin a hard time of it, but I mean, literally, we was on the counter, and he just brought it back. I mean, literally, he might as well have just stayed in his car and not even put his boots on and all that. Because, I mean, fucking hell, what he was doing, I don't know. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, mental. Dave, I'll come to you actually talk about the Solanke goal before we move on and talk about Wednesday night. Because, look, we could spend the entire stream talking about the Newcastle game, but we do have other things to talk about as well. So, talk about quickly Lucas Bergvall, who... was really, really good in that kind of 60 minutes. I thought it was definitely his best, moments in the Spurs shirt. I felt like, especially in the first half, he was willing to get the ball. He was popping into pockets to pick up balls. Especially the way that we like to play a pass in. He makes a run, comes into him in midfield. And then obviously he makes that run, lays it to Porro, and then Porro crosses it in on Solanke's head. It was a great header from Solanke, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I kind of been waiting for that Solanke.
Yeah.
If that makes sense to everyone here. So, that Solanke that we saw at Bournemouth, who scored quite a few goals like that, we haven't really seen that. We've seen the Solanke who puts in a lot of effort, puts in a lot of running. We haven't seen the clinicalness of him yet, and that finish was clinical. So I'm hopeful that he can use it as a bit of a foundation to propel on. I mean, look, it's a bit harsh on Solanke because when you've got people like Timo Werner trying to cost you the ball, you can't even stay on side. You're not going to score that many goals. But he took his chance really, really well. He probably should have scored in the second half as well, quite late on. And Brennan Johnson, just very quickly, I don't know what the hell he was doing when he didn't shoot, but. I like I said, for Solanke, I'm pleased. I've got nothing against the kid, but he was born in my hometown. I'm from Basingstoke, that's where he's from. So I'm hoping he goes on to smash it.
Basingstoke.
Exactly.
What a lovely place. You wouldn't go back there ever again.
It's a shithole, mate. I've left there. That's why I don't live there anymore.
Yeah, whenever anyone goes, do you want to go back? No.
I think I've got some kind of like sick problem as well, where every time I see Timo Werner, I really dislike him, but I also really want him to do something. Every time he gets the ball, I think, oh, come on, please just, don't fall over the ball.
I saw a stat the other day, right? And it was, they were looking back at Dele Alli. I don't know if anyone saw this. We're talking about most goals before he was a certain age or in a season or something like that. But Timo Werner scores something like 48 goals in a year or something stupid for Chelsea. And I'm like, that's a body double. Like he's died during COVID and they've just body doubled him because with the Timo Werner we've got.
I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't hang his boots up at some point because from my angle, and I mean this in the nicest way possible, he doesn't look like he wants to be there. In my eyes, he doesn't look. Every time he gets the ball, he just wants to get rid of it.
We're all fans, and we don't want to be there at the moment, Luke, either. So,
and it's yes, it's difficult at times. He's not playing well, but even when he goes through on goal, and you see him, he doesn't even really want. When someone has the ball and he makes a run. And he gets the pass. He doesn't even really want the ball, and whether that's just a confidence thing. But Leipzig don't want him back, and he was unbelievable there before he first left. And I can see him going somewhere, Spain or Germany, but mid-table teams.
Saudi, and then up in Saudi.
Yeah, maybe, but I could also see him just hanging his boots up and just calling it a day. Because
he doesn't look like he enjoys his football anymore, does he? To be honest, I mean, it's been tough 2 to 3 years for him.
Mate, if I was that shit in the Premier League, I wouldn't enjoy my football either.
I think I would at 180 grand a week though, putting it out there.
Yeah, I don't even think we can. We can't even terminate his loan or something like that. We have to get clarity from Leipzig to say, "Oh yeah, you can terminate
you can terminate it, but you just have to pay what you owe them."
We probably owe them like 10 million now in our luck. So I think that'll go down well.
I don't think they've refused. Maybe they would have refused to come back. Anyway, look, Spurs are in a cup final. Everybody, a semi-final, I should say, not final just yet. Semi-final on Wednesday night. Look, we do the simple task of getting past Liverpool first, who United have shown you can't score goals against. No, look, it's going to be tricky on Wednesday night. Got the first leg, obviously, of the semi-final of the Carabao Cup. Big Ange has made a statement for himself, hasn't he? He said, "I win things in my second year." So time to show us what you're made of, Ange Postecoglou, I think, because it's going to be extremely difficult. Even if we had a starting 11, a full team, even if we had our first choice goalkeeper, even if we had our first choice centre back, second choice centre back, third choice centre back, it would still be difficult to beat Liverpool. But where do you sit on Wednesday night? Look, it is 2 legs. In my eyes, it's about trying to get through to the second leg and not being out of the tie already.
Yeah, well, I'm with you on that, Luke, but I think the fact that on Friday we just about had enough players to get a team out at a Power League or a goals makes life a bit difficult. I think we're catching Liverpool at probably our worst time because of the current state of our squad. And then having said that, the way Liverpool are going at the moment, I think obviously we saw that a couple of weeks ago when they did play against us, how devastating they can be when they are given half a chance. I think they were really, really clinical a couple of weeks ago against us. So, yeah, it's going to be ridiculously difficult. Having said that, I think if we put in a similar level of performance like we did yesterday, then obviously who knows which way it's going to go. But yeah, I just think it's just come. This particular game has come at like the worst possible time because of the level of opponent. Bearing in mind, like Liverpool could make a few changes, and stuff like that. But the players that are coming in are stepping up at Liverpool. You look at obviously somebody like Curtis Jones, who's notoriously a squad player there. Like when he's been playing and Slot has started him, Ian Half taking his chance well. Obviously that's got him, England recognition and stuff like that as well. You look at someone like Conor Bradley, who's been coming in for Trent Alexander-Arnold, again, doesn't look out of place. Quansah, who's been in and out of the team, but again, when he's come in, he's more often than not played all right. Obviously Kelleher coming in for Alisson. They've got really good strength in depth, Liverpool. And what I like is they trust their academy, and they do notoriously now, in particular, start to give kids and youth a real chance, because then they know, right, if we are in a bit of a sticky situation, I can chuck this player in because I know the job they can do for me. But yeah, I think if put it this way, if we can get out of the game on Wednesday with a draw or even a narrow defeat, I think majority of Spurs fans would probably take that, I would say.
Yeah, Dave, the second leg, strangely, isn't for a month afterwards. So the 6th of February is when the second leg is. At that point, you would hope Spurs would have some players back.
And obviously Daniel Levy will spend 500 million in January, so we'll be laughing.
I've got positive vibes for Daniel Levy in this transfer window. 4 days in, goalkeeper, done.
No, I say no.
Let's go.
No. I think hopefully we get Kolo Muani. I don't think we're going to. We'll end up with a packet of crisps instead of some nonsense. But the way I kind of look at Tottenham at the moment, it is just about surviving. I'm so excited to watch a back four of Reguilon, Gray, Spence and Porro go against Mo Salah. I think that's going to be a right good laugh to watch. I'm of the opinion this game Ange has to completely scrap these wild tactics that I'm going to go and attack, because if he does that, we're going to get pummeled. Realistically, I'd take a 2-0 loss right now. I think, a narrow defeat is something we can come back from. Hopefully in a month's time, we got some players back from injury. Never know, maybe we signed a couple of players along the way, but I'm not very hopeful about that. So I don't think we're going to win. It was the worst draw for us, I think, Liverpool. I think anyone other than Liverpool, we got a chance. But it gets better because we got Liverpool and then straight after we got Arsenal. Yay.
Well, we do have Tamworth to play in the FA Cup before. So.
Yeah, it gives us a chance to field our youngsters. Oh, wait, we do that now, don't we?
Callum, what are your thoughts on Liverpool? Do you echo what everybody else is saying? Do you have any hope whatsoever that we can get anything out of Wednesday night's game?
Well, I hope we get something out of this, because the second leg's on my birthday. So literally it will be another year where Spurs fuck up my birthday one way or another. Any game around there screws anything up. So I reckon that we could do something if we get a couple of people back from the sickness bench, because at the moment we've got enough players out sick to fill a travel lodge on Ballsmore Lane. So I mean, literally, it's a difficult one. And I guess do we know what goalkeeper we're going to have? Do we know if Dragassin's going to be back? But obviously we know that he's turning out to be a really not a good option at the moment, because he's
I don't get it, because in the World Cup he was Romanian Paolo Maldini, but at Tottenham he's Romanian Eric Dyer.
I don't think he's been as bad, there have been times where I think he's been all right, but I think it's so hard, to play alongside, okay, Archie Gray's playing really well, but to be playing, without your first choice goalkeeper, it's so hard, I think, to just kind of slot in and then have to be able to carry pretty much that entire defence.
Jed Spence did all right for 45 minutes.
Yeah, I don't know who's less mobile though, him or Fraser Forster. Literally, I've seen bags of concrete move quicker being thrown on a building site than both of them together. So literally, it doesn't inspire confidence for us. And I mean, I guess when you've got someone like Van der Ven being able to tidy up all the shite, then you're very fortunate. But with our options at the moment, what we're going to field maybe one of our best back four at most. That's if he trusts Porro, and I mean even he was pretty wank yesterday, apart from the cross that he put in for Solanke's goal. So I mean,
thought he was well. I thought he did quite well.
there was a lot of stuff in the second half where he overcooked passes, but I mean, 2 moments in the last 2 games have summed up Spurs. Bentancur running into Solanke last week and then trying to having 4 opportunities to shoot, and instead we did 4 passes in the box yesterday as well. So I mean, literally that sums up our season in one. But I mean, maybe giving, like, I mean, even Liverpool had a couple of people out with illness today, like Soboslai. Maybe it could work to our advantage, but I think if we're going to get a result, we have to get something on Wednesday, because I think we're going to get killed at Anfield.
I'll tell you what, if Trent has a head loss of a game like he did today, then Sonny might have some luck on that left hand side.
I reckon he'll drop Trent and bring in Conor Bradley and all that for this one, and he's a class option to have when you think another homegrown one who's challenging for first team slot. I mean, he's slotted in perfectly when Trent has either his head fuck moments or deciding whether he's going to go on holiday to Madrid to sign secret contract documents and all that with them. No, I think if you're going to go for it, this has got to be the game for it. And I'd rather, this is going to sound really hypocritical, but I would rather see us do a proper performance here and maybe accept a hit at the Emirates on next weekend. And I know it's a North London derby, but I don't think we've got much hope at all in the league at the moment until we get more people in. So I think the cups are where we've got to be serious about it.
Yeah, it's
good old Tottenham, that wonderful cup team. Them won nothing since the early 2000s, eh?
Hello. Oh dear. Yeah, look.
Whatever I say, I'll get shot against a wall one way or another. So I'm literally falling on my sword here.
The one thing I noticed from today was that, United, and I tweeted about this actually, United chose when to sit back and when to really hit Liverpool aggressively at Anfield. And I think it really worked for them today. I felt like, okay, Liverpool had a lot of possession and the game did finish 2-2. But I think at times United knew when to, hit that trigger and when to come out and really hit the hard tackles to be able to stun the Liverpool players and know that, look, you're not going to get it your own way and be able to pass the ball about all the time.
United should have won.
Is this Spurs team too nice, to do that? And so therefore that's going to be our big downfall. If we're able to.
So do we throw our 2 headless idiots in midfield? Do we throw in Basuma and Bentancur and just pummel Liverpool up in the air or something like that?
Yeah. If we can get our passes together, I honestly think we can beat anyone. There were times against Newcastle, as I say, where, players were making really good runs. There were good passes, but they just weren't, the issue with this football is if you play Ange Postecoglou style football, you have to be 100% accurate with everything, because if you're not, you're in big trouble. And that's the biggest problem at Spurs. That's what I can't get my head around, is how are these players still unable to make 5-yard passes whilst moving? And that's the biggest problem, because that's always what it is. It's in a forward transition when they're moving forward at speed and they make these passes. And that's when we lose possession. And that's when teams turn us over and counter-attack on us. But quick round the houses before we move on to Tamworth. Who does everybody want to see in the back four against Liverpool with the options that we have available? Callum, I'll come to you first.
Do we actually know what options we have available? That's the problem. I mean, I know I was saying yesterday that I'd be advocating for Dorrington, but Winnie was quite right saying that if he's not even getting a fucking look in, I mean, he's never going to get a chance, to be honest, at this rate. So, I mean, we'll probably be looking at Spence left back, Porro right back, Dragusin and Gray if Dragusin's fit. If not, Reguilon, Archie Gray, Spence on the right, and Porro I mean, at this rate, I think literally we might as well just tell Mile Jedinak to get his boots on and all that and say, get in there and me and Wes will go. No, he can sit in midfield. We've got enough midfield
He can ping
options.
He can ping a few passes across midfield, no problem at all.
Yeah, I know, but he's no Alderweireld, is he, or something like that? I mean, could we ask him and Jan to come back for a game, sort of thing? We'll say it's a testimonial to him and all that. I mean, fucking that'd be outstanding. But no, I honestly don't know what options we had. I mean, we had 2 youth centre backs on the bench, and either they're still not ready or Ange doesn't fancy them, and they're just making up numbers now. So literally, you'd be looking at probably the same back four that ended yesterday, and either Austin or is it Kirket or whatever his name is, the guy from the Czech Republic, the new goalkeeper in goal. Yeah, as long as it's not Bag of Cement Falster, then we're all right.
Honestly, I think it's too early to bring Dave, there's something's happened to your camera, so I'm just going to check you off stream because it currently looks like you've just fallen asleep on my screen. I'm not sure.
I thought he was going for a painful dump.
Looked like he was falling asleep, but that's the thing. I think it's just going to be too early for this new goalkeeper. I think it would be suicide to put in a new goalkeeper at this stage.
We put in Brandon Austin yesterday, and literally the guy hasn't kicked a ball in 2.5 years. So, I mean, literally, suicide is what we've got at the moment, unless we just take the Liverpool team bus out on the Tottenham High Road and all that, unless we can get the N7 mob to come up and all that and do us a favour. Literally, we've just got to take a chance. What chances do we have?
I'm fancying Reguilon instead of Spence at left back. Personally, I think if you're going to go one-on-one against Mo Salah, I didn't like how Spence handled Murphy. In the first half, I thought he got done quite a lot. I think against Mo Salah, it's going to be very difficult for him. So if Dragassin's fit, obviously he can play, but if not, Jed Spence will have to play centre back, and we'll have to see how we get on with back four of Spence, Gray, Reguilon, and Porro. Wes, again, footballing mastermind. What are you going for?
Can we just ask Ledley, Jonathan Woodgate, and Michael Dawson to just come out of retirement and get them free in?
Not Woodgate. Fuck off with Woodgate.
Oh, he was class.
He
I love
Woodgate. The winner in the cup final.
Yeah.
And that was the only fucking thing he did in his whole career for Spurs.
Oh, I loved Woodgate. He was class. But yeah, I'm a bit with Callum. It depends on who we've actually got available, to be honest. Yeah, it's clear that Ange doesn't necessarily think Dorrington is ready now. And I get it. There's one thing playing youth football, and there's another thing playing men's football, and then there's another thing playing for Tottenham at the same time as well, and playing in the Premier League. But how do you know if he's gonna be ready? It might just be a case he's got to chuck something. He might have to just chuck him in and be like, do you know what? Sink or swim, mate. Sink or swim. Because effectively, what have we got to lose at this point with an academy product? Is it right, we'll chuck him in. If he does well, brilliant, we've got one here. But if it doesn't work out, it's just, okay, he's not ready yet. It was the same thing with Troy Parrott, all those years ago when everybody was saying he has to play. We chucked him in and it was clear that he wasn't ready. And then he just got caught up in a few loans and things like that. So, and now he's obviously not with us, but it might just have to be that he chucks Dorrington in and just goes Dorrington and Archie Gray at centre back and Porro and either Spence or Reguilon at left back. But yeah, I think you look at, and as I mentioned earlier, you look at Liverpool and the way they've been able to integrate their academy players into the team gradually over the last sort of 10 years or so, you would argue, and they seem to get it right more often than not, as well. Whereas we want to do it, but we don't feel like we can do it, which seems like a theme going through the whole club at the minute. It's like we want to do something, but we don't really know how best to go and do it.
To be fair, though, Liverpool did it with Quansah last year when they had that injury crisis of Gomez, Kanate, and Van Dijk, and he took his chance well. And he's only 1 or 2 years older than Dorrington, so I mean, he did it. And didn't United do it with a centre back last year as well under Ten Hag? I mean, they ended up sacking him. Yeah,
Kambala, yeah.
Sold him, and look how that's ended up with them having De Ligt and all that. Who's been, I think, was it Gakpo sent him on his way back to Ajax tonight and all that. So I mean, but literally, what other reasoning is there that he's not in there? Because I know he's had that long-term injury. That's the only thing that I can think of that might stop Dorrington coming into it. But if not, what chances do we have? We're literally playing. I know for Gray's development, it's probably good to get all these minutes into him, but not in his right position. Spence and Reguilon were out the door less than a season ago, and Porro is potentially could be on his way to Real at some point as well. So I mean, literally, we just got to take a chance. We can't do anything else, and yet if we win, everyone will praise Ange. If we lose, they'll be calling for him to be out of a job. So the guy's got a poison chalice round his neck either way, whatever he does.
Well,
that's called being a Tottenham manager, mate.
Yeah, turns out that he's got 100% of the board backing according to reports today. So that's what I personally I like to hear. I'm glad that we're sticking by somebody and hoping that they'll do something in the transfer window. A quick question for you all. And you just have to answer one way or the other. No long answers. Just get to the point. Would you rather be battered by Liverpool in the semi-final of the Cup or lose to Arsenal in the final? Little 1-0 loss or something to Arsenal. But
quick answer, neither.
You have to choose one.
No, we don't. No, we don't.
I will never ever say that I'd rather lose to Arsenal. Like in my head, I'm a Tottenham fan. Like, even if we get to a Carabao Cup final, we'd probably lose it anyway. So I'm taking beating Arsenal every day of the week.
What's to say that Arsenal definitely get through? Newcastle can take anyone.
Just a fun game.
Well, I know I'm putting a caveat into it.
My answer is I'd rather get beat by Liverpool because we would never, ever hear the end of it if they beat us in a cup final. If they beat us in a cup final, we would never hear the end of it, and they would be banging on about it like you would not believe.
How sweet would that be to beat them in a cup final?
Yeah, but you've just said we're not going to beat them, so do you know what I mean? I'd rather get beat by Liverpool in a semi-final knowing that Liverpool are a good side and we've got our flipping under 12s out than, playing than get beat by Arsenal in the final, 100%.
Yeah, Johnny has said, of course, I'd rather lose to Newcastle than lose to Spurs because he's an Arsenal fan, but I'd rather take Spurs in the final than Liverpool. No brainer. Spurs are a much easier side than Liverpool.
Body blue, raised arms.
You know that if we lose to them in the final, they'd deliberately drive their bloody celebratory parade bus right up Tottenham High Road, and they would
smash to pieces, mate.
Well, I would hope they do then. Could I just add one in as well? Apparently, Radu Dragusin's agent's been kicking up again, saying it's a shit source. It's from GB News, so I mean they're pretty fucking wank. But saying that he's not happy with the direction Tottenham are heading in, and he's been reaching out to teams to see where he can go in the summer.
I think that's fake news, to be honest. But I'm not going to be
building sites. A couple of building sites might take him. Good labourer.
Yeah, not by literally Dragusin's agent. You know that literally anything could happen with that man. So I wouldn't put anything. I'd take anything with a pinch of salt, and yet he'd say something or other.
Just really quick. I know we're not doing it, but I've got score predictor right, so I'm looking forward to seeing them points next week.
Look, good thing comes to those that wait, Dave. There is a segment at the end of the show that we do every week where we talk about score predictions. So we will get there. Don't you worry about that. Quickly, let's jump on to the Tamworth game in the FA Cup next Sunday, 12:30. Tamworth fans are absolutely outraged with the £42, I think it was, ticket that their club decided to charge for the Spurs game. Absolute scumbags. They thought Daniel Levy was bad. He's nothing compared to...
Well, considering they're charging like 26 quid for tickets that are usually free on a normal match day and all that, I mean, what the fuck does that say to your fans?
It's absolutely mental, isn't it? But I was about to say, Wes, like, are you looking forward to this as a kind of respite from the Premier League? But like, it couldn't be worse, right? Spurs in absolute disarray, play probably the lowest ranked side left in the FA Cup. No brainer.
And we'll probably still find a way to fuck it up.
Yeah. This has got Spursy written all over it, hasn't it? Really. I think. Look, the one plus. And bear with me on this. So when we drew Marine, obviously every Spurs fan thought we were going to lose it. But the big plus was at least the game was on grass against Marine. The fact that Tamworth have got a plastic pitch is an absolute. No. It's a game changer like you would not believe. Pardon?
Is it played on the dry ski slope?
Not a clue, but it's obviously on a plastic pitch. So
but with the ball should bounce. Imagine people like Dragusin with the ball just pinging up over his head and that.
And if it's a bit skiddy on there, mate. Yeah, if it's a bit skiddy on there, mate, we are in big trouble. So that is an absolute leveler already for Tamworth. Is it one of them? Do you go with the strongest team available to get the job done and then put the kids in, or do you throw the kids in and then have the insurance policy on the bench for, after an hour where we inevitably make it?
So we ain't got much chance, have we? So
no. Well, I mean, like players like, does Dorrington finally get a chance? Does Olasesi? Does those types of players get? Does Lancashire get a look in?
Do you put Yang in and stuff like that?
Yeah, and little bits and pieces like that. I think this is a really interesting one for Ange because
welcome to English football, Yang. Play on a plastic pitch, mate.
yeah. I mean, it's going to be really interesting after the game against Liverpool because I think probably Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or whatever. The lads are probably going to be training in the dome at Hotspur Way to get used to a 3G pitch. So yeah, it's just one of them. I'm not looking forward to the game at all because if we win it, we're expected to win it. If we lose, we are the biggest meme going for another 5 years, and we're already like one of the biggest memes as it is.
It's hard work being a Spurs fan, isn't it? But let's be honest.
Yeah,
definitely. Right, let's do some fun score predictions. Not for any glory or anything like that. Guaranteed two correct now in this week. But let's go with Liverpool game on Thursday night, lads. Wednesday night, sorry, fucking hell, I'm going insane. What do we reckon Wes score against Liverpool?
Well, considering the last game was 6-3, this could be anything, really. I'm going to go 4-1 Liverpool.
Ooh. Do you know what? I'm never going to back Spurs to lose, so I'm going to go 3-3. Callum?
I think it's got to be 3-2 to Liverpool.
Dave?
Yeah, I'm more on Wes's side. I think we're getting beat 3-1.
Okay, interesting. Now let's flip reverse it to a bit of Tamworth away. I'm going to go 2-0 Spurs. Dave?
There's no way we don't concede, so I'll go 3-1 Spurs.
Callum?
And it'll be 1-0 Tamworth till about the 84th minute.
I'm going to go 4-2 Spurs.
Go on, the Spurs.
I'll go 2-1 Spurs.
Can we do an injury calculator as well to see how many injuries we're going to get on this freaking plastic pitch?
I know, yeah. Knowing Ange, you'll bring back Van der Ven for the game against Tamworth. You'll make about 100 yards sprint, and then just his old legs will just fall off.
And the worst thing about Tamworth is they've got a long throw as well. So a long throw on a plastic pitch.
Maybe that's what Ange means when he says that he always wins something in the second season. The end of the season, he's holding up everyone's hamstrings like this. It's all broken.
Can't wait for someone who should be playing in prime Stoke in the second coming of Rory Delap to bombard our box as well with the long throws from Tamworth as well.
Rory Delap style, yeah.
Whereas your mum has gone 4-2 Liverpool. Johnny has gone 3-2 Tottenham. I'm not sure. I think he's basically praying that we get through to the final because he wants to beat us in the final.
He does know the game's again over 2 legs, right?
Yeah.
But look, we will be back next Sunday to discuss all of those things, but there is one more important thing to discuss, and that is this week's score prediction. So these are the scores that we did this week. I went for a 1-1 draw. Willie went 5-1 Spurs because of the wheel. He's very upset because he actually went for 2-1 Newcastle, which was a correct score, so unlucky there, Willie. Dave did get a correct score, so 3 points to Dave with a 2-1 Newcastle win. Callum got 4-2 Spurs thanks to the wheel. and Wes nearly got a correct score with a 2.
If Brennan Johnson would have shot, he'd have got a correct score.
Yeah, 2-2 draw. So the only person to get any points was Dave, and because he got 3 points, that does this to the table. It actually moves him up into second place, 2 points behind Winnie. So Winnie's at the top with 12. Dave's got 10. Wes got 7. Callum's got 4. And so have I. Needless to say, I might as well just hand over that crown already because, more likely Spurs winning the league than me coming back in the score prediction race. But
hand it over to me, mate.
Huh?
You'd be handing it over to me at the end of the season.
Ooh, confident now, isn't he? There will be no prizes this week for the scores, just a bit of fun. So do drop us a comment as well in this video and let us know what you think the scores will be. As I said at the start of the show, 87% of the people that watched last week's video, and there's over 500 people that watch, have not subscribed to the channel. So before you do anything else, click the subscribe button, click the like button. Please do follow us on all social medias as well. That does wrap us up for today. We'll be back next week to discuss the Liverpool Carabao Cup game and the Hamworth game. Dave, thanks again for your input this week. How can everyone find you?
At Park Lane Pod Dave, or just at Park Lane Pod. I'm pretty active, so just hit me up there.
Perfect. Callum, how can everyone find you?
Probably in a medical room for most of the week this week, not going to lie. I'll be joining up with the Spurs squad. Callum Stubbs 97 on Twitter, mate.
And Wes, your microphone is working this week, so I won't have to do it for you. How can everyone find you?
Just really quickly, Wes, before you say your spiel, I've seen a lot on Twitter about a lot of Newcastle fans saying Joe Linton is like Dembele. What's for to get your thoughts?
Fuck off.
Generally.
Christ. What was it? Was that Moussa Dembele in China or something? When he was on his last legs. Christ,
have they forgotten that he used to be a striker and they fucked that up, so he had to reinvent himself?
Apparently, that's what they're saying. That he's he's as good as Dembele.
What a fun!
Just wanted to get that in there. Where's before you do your favourite bit?
That's unreal. My head's gone. I think the game's gone as well off the back of that as well, to be fair. But yeah, Twitter's at Wezo10, unofficial Moussa Dembele fan account, as everyone knows by now. Tweeting things about the best Belgium to ever grace the Premier League. So that's where people can find me on Twitter. Instagram's at Wezo32, usually at most Spurs home games. I was obviously fortunate enough to be at the City away game as well, although my away days are dwindling this year, which I'm not best pleased about. But who knows, someone might plug me with a ticket for an away game at some point. And then run my own football coaching business as well in Milton Keynes, so that's Kickoff Football Academy, or Kofa MK across your socials for that. But Dave, I wanted to ask you what's going on with FPL. I've been smashing it lately and I got no recognition. What's going on?
I've actually had a bit of a nightmare with FPL the last few weeks, but FPL, I was going to jump in and say I was going to have a chat with Luke after. We are looking at changing the day and time just to suit everyone a little bit more. So tune in next week for the new day and new time. I'm not very happy because I'm bottom of my host league as well, or almost bottom of my host league. I've had a bit of a nightmare. I'm not looking forward to coming back, so I'm trying to delay it to get off the bottom. That's the plan.
So basically, what happened was that they all decided to create an FPL podcast and an FPL league. They all did so shit that then they decided to stop doing the FPL podcast.
Yeah. No, to be fair, Russell at the top, he's absolutely smashing it. I think he's like 200 points ahead of everybody. It's been a lot of obviously over Christmas and things like that, people having work commitments and stuff. It kind of hit us a little bit, but I am looking for new hosts as well. So if you do want to jump on, you do want to come talk about FPL, Wes, you're more than welcome to come on the show, mate. Tell us your max points that you're on this season, and we'll see how you're getting on.
Dave, I don't even do FPL, and I fucking ended up jumping on with you. How does that work?
You just look like Russ, mate. You just look like Russ. We just pretend you're Russ.
I will check the diary, Dave, and if things sync up, I may jump on. The FPL show.
It is a good laugh. We will be back. I'm hoping for Mondays. That's kind of the plan. Mondays at 8 p.m. But I'm going to reconfirm with Luke. It won't be this Monday, but if we get to go ahead for Mondays, it'll be the following Monday, which I won't be looking forward to. But yeah, it'll be the following Monday at 8 p.m.
Perfect. Stay tuned to all social media for that. TikTok, Twitter, all the rest of it. Twitter's the main one that we're on. So we do like to see some of you guys commenting as well. So get your comments in on the videos, get your comments into any of the tweets that we do send out. Comment directly with us, DM us. If anyone's DMs are open on Twitter, we do like to hear from you. So So don't be a stranger, and make sure you continue to tune in. You can catch me at Luke_Park Lane, but more importantly, at Park Lane Pod on all social medias for the channel. That kind of wraps us up for this week, but we just want to thank every single person that's tuned in. I want to thank everybody that's liked the video, subscribed, listened on any podcast platforms over 2024. Bring into 2025, and let's hope that we can continue to grow this channel.
Jesus Christ. Can you just pull up Johnny's comment before you go, mate?
Right.
Fucking Ada.
The very bottom one, mate. This is an Arsenal fan, everybody. Hang on. Come on, you
now
Spurs.
I can say it too with all my heart. Come on, you Spurs. Amazing. That kind of wraps us up, doesn't it? So on that, on that bombshell, go on, you Spurs.
Go on, you Spurs.
Go on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.